What's going on, everyone? Welcome 32 it. This is another episode of Beyond the Tape presented by 32 Beat Writers. Yours truly, TJ Wengert, here with you. And today, a very fun episode. It's kind of serving two purposes. One, I got to put out a final big board before we get to the NFL draft. Just when I'm recording this, a week away. That is dumbfounding to be saying out loud. But, I say that every year when we're 1 week out. But when I'm recording this, we are 1 week out. And when I'm recording this, you're also watching Matt Waldman on the pod. So definitely go back and check out that episode. But we're putting out my top 150. I'm also going to go ahead and go through and showcase my defensive rankings just for the couple of guys that aren't inside my top 150. And I just didn't have the time and really the bandwidth on top of my full-time job to make individual videos for each of those position groups. So we're going to throw that in to the back half of today's big board reveal. And then I am working on my final mock draft, and I have decided I'm going to make it a 4-round mock. I know 3 is, first 2 days. We're dipping our toes into the beginning of day 3, but you look at hit rate, and it really after the 4th round is when it starts to really fall off. Not that it's substantially high in any round, but after the 4th round, the hit rate falls off. And dude, there's just like so many good running backs, so many good edge rushers, the depth at some of these positions. Like there's going to be solid players that get drafted in the 4th round. So I've decided for my final mock, we're going to do a 4-round mock draft with trades. So be sure, stick around, subscribe to the channel, follow us on X, all that sort of fun stuff. Follow me on X, and be sure to stay tuned. That'll come out no later than Wednesday. No later than Wednesday night, obviously. And then I'll be live for a portion of the NFL draft with Player Profiler. And then after night 1 of the draft ends, I might be going live on X. Might just be recording and then posting on X and YouTube. But I will have grades for all 32 picks in the first round and a day 2 mock draft shortly thereafter. So stick to the channel, stick to the X page. We're going to have you covered with a lot of draft content as we've made it. We're in the end game now. All right, let's jump right into it. And again, apologies. I wish I could have touched this up, made some nice graphics, but I just given the amount of time and how many other things are pulling me in different directions. This is what we're going to roll with for today's video. Hopefully it's not too much of a bummer. I do want to shout out Matt Owen for putting this together. I will make sure it's linked in the description. If you're looking to put together a last second big board, he made this very simple, and it includes all your combine times, some pro day numbers in there, measurements from the Senior Bowl, all that sort of fun stuff, plus PFF stats, games started, all that sort of stuff. And you'll see a little bit of that when we get to the defensive rankings within this. I got 150 names to go through here, so I'm not going to talk about each and every prospect. My analysis and where I stand on a lot of these guys. So we're going to kind of touch through some of these names and where I have them and maybe where I'm higher on some guys, maybe where I'm lower on some guys, and we'll make those our discussion points. But real quick, off the top, 4 blue chippers this year. Last year I had 8. So you can see, the top end talent in this year's class is a little bit lower, but I love the 15 to 64, 15 to 75 range, really, of this draft class. Feels like that's really the backbone of this group, and that's where there's going to be a lot of value had in the NFL draft. Maybe you shrink that down to like 20 to 75. But nevertheless, I think that's kind of like the heart of this draft. But I do have 4 blue chippers. Travis Hunter, he is just going to be such an interesting, wins above replacement paradigm. What do you do with a guy who, let's say he goes to Cleveland, he's gonna be their receiver 1. It sounds like that's their lean, and you could use him as a corner. Or for another team, maybe he's a full-time corner and 20 reps a week or 20 snaps a week on offense. What do you do with that wins above replacement? Could he become so valuable because of the two-way value that he matches some quarterbacks in regards to wins above replacement and overall value to a team? It's going to be an interesting conversation. He's a freak player. That two-way value, he's got to be the number 1 player. He's the best football player in this class, so he's my number 1 player. Abdul Carter, if you're going to say, hey, I don't think Travis Hunter can play 2 ways, I'm open to a conversation there about Hunter being the number 1 player in the class. I can totally see where, hey, one guy, one spot, Carter's the best of the bunch there. GT, I would have him below prospects like Saquon and Bijan Robinson, but it's close with him and Bijan. It really just comes down to what's your ideal type. I think, especially Bijan, that last year at Texas utilized more as a pass catcher. GT was more in 2023 than it was in 24, but those are the 3 best running back prospects I've gotten to scout: Saquon, Bijan, GT. He's absolutely in that tier, and he's got to be a blue chipper for that. And then Mason Graham here at 4. And really what this came down to was I was very close to having 9 blue chippers last year, which, by the way, all 8 of those blue chippers were offensive players, which, funny, we went, 14 picks straight last year's draft, all offense, and then the Colts take Leatu at 15. That breaks that streak. So kind of interesting to see how that played out. But Byron Murphy II almost was, or Byron Murphy Jr., I should say, was almost my 9th blue chipper, and he would have been the only defensive guy. But, comparing him to Quinnen Williams and, some of the guys that have come out before him, Jalen Carter, who were absolutely blue chippers for me, I was like, I love Byron Murphy II. He was Byron Murphy Jr., he was my top defensive prospect, but I just couldn't quite get on that level of tier with those guys. I think Graham is somewhere there in between. I don't think he's Quinn Williams or Jalen Carter, but I do think he's a slightly better prospect than Byron Murphy Jr. Part of that's also like multiple years of dominance from Graham. Byron Murphy Jr. was really that last year at Texas, and part of that's also just like how stacked they were on the D-line for the years before that. But I did decide to give Mason Graham the blue chip. I decided that a while ago, but I do think he is that kind of prospect between where I saw Byron Murphy Jr. and where I saw Quinn Williams and Jalen Carter in specific. I think Carter's probably the best defensive tackle prospect I've ever gotten my eyes on scouting wise. He just had some off the field issues there. So those are my 4 blue chippers. I mean, Jalen Walker, like there's an argument to be made there, but he is this combination of like hybrid versatile player and homeless. He's depending on who you are and how you see these guys, he's going to fall into one of those 2 buckets. And as much as I like him, he is a bit of a projection to being a full-time edge / this agent of chaos as I've described him. So I can't quite put him in the blue chippers, but love Jalen Walker. Love me some Tyler Warren, just such a high floor. I think he's going to be a better blocker at the next level. I'm still here for the Tetairoa McMillan conversation in the top 10. I think he's a very good player. Love the body control, love the hands, and I'm not worried about an outdated podcast clip of him not liking watching film on his own. Well, I think that was his freshman year at Arizona too, so it's just like an outdated moment and hopefully an outdated thought. But like, if he doesn't like watching film, that's okay. Like I'm not too worried about it as long as the on-field stuff pops, and it definitely did. And I think this was a down year for him, and it was a down year for Arizona as a whole. So I think that honestly, if you flip the years of his production at Arizona, 2023 becomes 24 and vice versa, we'd be talking about this ascending prospect who was pretty good and then took an elite leap in the right direction. And he's got to be a blue chipper, or he's got to be a top 5 pick. It's just interesting to see how the rhetoric would change, with just swapping years. There's a couple of prospects like that in this year's class, but I still love the frame, love the hands. I think there's some versatility there between playing the X, playing power slot. There's a lot to like there with Tetairoa McMillan. Will Campbell, I have him as guard, but kind of the Peter Skronsky thing from a few years back. He's the best offensive lineman in the class. So I'm not too worried about drafting him. It's just going to come down to like, I personally wouldn't do it at tackle, but hey, it sounds like New England is going to give him that shot at left tackle. The tape is rock solid. I don't think it's fantastic. I don't think it's elite. It's not blue chipper status. It's not Joe Alt. He was one of my blue chippers last year. It's not quite that dominant. There are times where length and speed gets the best of him, but other than that, it's rock solid tape. So I can understand the idea of like making him fail at left tackle before you move him inside to guard. I would just probably be a little bit more proactive there and move him inside to guard. Then we get Will Johnson at 9. Yeah, and I hear the high 4.5s. Apparently, that's what he was running at the 40. But there's just so much instincts. He's got great length. I think he's a great understanding of his athleticism. Right, like you see that on letting receivers get a little bit more depth down the field and get a little behind him, but he can bait quarterbacks into thinking that's an open throw depending on what the coverage is. And, if it's, anyways, he's also got great anticipation and, again, great understanding of his athleticism. You see that in the 2 pick sixes this year. He knows when to time it up to be able to make a break on the football. And all I was saying before is just like the opposite is true. Sometimes he'll let a guy get behind him a little bit, but it's not necessarily from a lack of speed. It's more so like, come on, I'm daring you to throw this. So I really like him in a zone-heavy defense. He does have a body type that says man coverage, but I do worry about the long speed there and where that might, ultimately play out. So in a zone-heavy defense, playing a lot of quarters, playing a lot of cover 3, especially cover 3, get him at the line of scrimmage, use him as a press guy. I think there's something to be had there. So Will Johnson, love the intangibles, rock-solid prospect. Shamar Stewart, he's a lot more of a projection than someone like Will Johnson, but he's also way more of an athlete. But I've been, pounding the drum all draft cycle about Shamar Stewart. He's been one of my favorite players. Talked about him leading up to the Senior Bowl. I thought he was going to be a guy that stole the show, and I think there's arguments to be made that he had the best week of practice. So big Shamar Stewart guy. I know the production's not great from a sack total standpoint, but he's gotten pressures. He's a disruptor. He hasn't finished plays, but it's kind of like receivers and drops. Like, is he getting open? Okay, cool. Well, let's. That's a skill set I can work with. We can fine tune drops. I think, with the right coaching and just honestly, I think getting away from Mike Elko and his emphasis on filling in lanes, not letting a quarterback get outside the pocket, emphasis on run defense, I think he's going to finish more of those plays. The fact of the matter is he's getting in the backfield and he's making a quarterback move. The finishing part will come along with some time, but insane traits, great power, great length, explosive first step. Yeah, love me some Shamar Stewart. And then Jahdae Barron, man, the more I watch of him, just like he's clinical, man. Like it's teach taping a lot of times with his zone coverage. The arms are short, but I have no problem with him moving inside the slot. I think that's going to become a cornerstone position of an NFL defense in about 5 years' time. We'll be talking about it. Like you got to have a guy in the slot. I have a video up on my own personal YouTube channel if you want to hear more thoughts on that. So whether it's outside and kind of an off zone coverage role, or it's use him as like a Mike Hilton type in the slot, use him as a blitzer, taking advantage of how sure of a tackler he can be. I'm fully here for it. Love his instincts in zone coverage, but he's also got good tape and man coverage too. So not worried about it again. And again, I would love to see him play in the slot at the next level. If I were doing slot rankings, he would actually be my slot 1, just like Cooper Jean was for me last year. And we saw how that played out. So hoping the same success to Jahdae Barron. Armand Membu, love him on the move. Amarian Hampton, just like an absolute downhill brute of a running back. Colston Loveland, silky smooth. I told myself we weren't going to talk about each one of these guys, but here I am. Walton Owen, there was no one at the Senior Bowl off the line of scrimmage quicker than him if he was on the field. So love those quicks. I got a really fun landing spot for him in the final mock. Like, I am pumped to talk about what I'm doing there. Mike Green, I'm not weighing the off the field stuff too much here. It sounds like teams have mostly done their checks and they're comfortable there, and it's not like a reoccurring issue. But the on tape, the guy is fantastic. I mean, explosive first step, great spin move, cross chop. The arms are just a little bit short, so you worry about like maybe the run defense side, but he's also got good power to go with it. I think he'll be able to overcome those, forgive the pun here, but shortcomings with the arm length. Luther Bird, not ready to quit on that. Special yards after catch ability, 4.41 in the 40. This guy can also take the top off the defense. He needs to be refined as a route runner, but he's also better at the catch point too. So I think we can fine tune some of that stuff, but also his yards after the catch ability and natural ball skills, I think that kind of overcomes some of, where there is room to grow as a route runner. Emeka Egbuka, kind of a coward's way out here, putting him right behind it. Burden really comes down to what you're looking for, right? Like, are you looking for the upside play? Burden, I think, has a higher ceiling. The floor is probably a little bit higher, though, with Egbuka. Gus, he is a good route runner. He'll work back to the football. He is an absolute zone buster, great run blocker, too, or very solid run blocker for a wide receiver. So, just a little bit of a floor versus ceiling proposition there. So sometimes I'll stack up prospects next to each other when something like that arises. Cam Ward, he's my quarterback 1. I just think if you're going to take someone at number 1 overall, like the Tennessee Titans, and you got this guy saying his favorite receiver in the league he thinks Calvin Ridley is the best receiver in the league, and he thinks Treylon Burks is number 5. This guy he's already got it down, right? He's already drinking the Kool-Aid. He's already doing the Tennessee Titans work for them. But if there's a guy I'm going to take at number 1 overall, like the Titans are, it's Cam Ward. Between the arm talent, the ability to create off scripts, the ability to throw from different arm slots, and also like I'm a sucker for a guy who goes from one school to the next and takes that step up in competition and then some. And we got to see him do that twice, Incarnate Word, NAIA, to Washington State, to then Miami. And each one of those systems getting a little bit closer to being a little bit more pro style. I'm loving the steps he's taking in the right direction. And, again, 5 years ago, he was playing option quarterback in high school. So I still think there's, meat on the bone to Cam Ward, really. I think there's room for him to continue to grow at that position. Not necessarily from an arm talent standpoint. That's going to be awesome as is. But it's just like the processing, the willingness to play underneath. We already saw him take huge strides in the right direction over the last couple of years, specifically this last season. But I think he'll continue to get better there. Donovan Ezraku, he's just fun player to watch, man. Long arms, good bend, good first step, wide range of moves he'll go to. Uber productive, I think solid against the run. Not going to wow you there, but he can hold his own, and he'll be a 3-down player. There's just so much to like about Donovan Ezraku. Kelvin Banks, I contemplated flipping those two because I do like Banks a lot, but there is a little bit more boom bust sometimes with Banks specifically as a run blocker. I think he kind of evened that out a little bit this last year, but there's still some of that where he's trying to take a head off a guy and he'll just miss. But I love him in pass protection. And I think the wingspan, overcomes where the short arms are. And really, you're not just blocking a guy with your arms. Like the whole package comes into play. So wingspan to me more important than arm length. And his wingspan checks out to be a strength for him. And he's great on the move too. So get this kind of a zone blocking scheme. He'll have a ton of success. John Campbell, like the best true off-ball linebacker in this class, sideline to sideline speed, good depth when he's dropping back into coverage, but he is a maniac flying downhill too, whether it's against run or it's pass rusher. This guy is the Tasmanian devil when he locks in on you coming downhill. So really fun player to watch. Matthew Golden, silky smooth route runner. I may not see 4.29, but I see someone who has great composition and great ability to control how much he can accelerate going 0 to 100, but how much he can throttle it down, going 100 down to 0. So much nuance in his game, even if I don't see 4.29. The fact that he tested that at the combine only makes him that much more appealing of a prospect. Malachi Starks, maybe a bit of a down year, maybe some too much hero ball, but a guy who can play in the slot, play free, play strong safety, versatile safeties like that, I'm all over them. Quinshon Judkins, I mean, how could you not like Quinshon Judkins? I mean, a stiff arm a stiff arm from hell, man. Like it is something else to watch. But he just runs hard, very good testing numbers, good frame to go with it too. Like this guy could definitely be like the lead guy in a committee. And if he can get back to 2023 Ole Miss Quinshon Judkins, where he's got a little bit more make you miss in short area, we're talking about soon to be one of the best running backs in the NFL. And that's part of why I bumped him up to RB3. I think he can get back on track there. I think Ohio State kind of put the emphasis on more north-south running. I think the NFL level, give him a little bit more freedom to be creative, and we'll get that 2023 Judkins. Josh Connerly, I love the player, man. I love the steps in the right direction, more coordinated movements between his feet and his hands. He's just got to add a little bit of mass, and then he's going to be a rock-solid starter at the next level. Nick Scott, not ready to quit this guy, especially at 257 pounds. I think, at Purdue, he was listed at 280, but I think he was probably closer to 270, or at least that 280 was a little bit more lean than this last year at A&M was. And I do wonder if, just get this guy into a stand-up edge rush role, let him use more finesse while on top of the, what he gained this year, using the long arm, speed to power, bull rush techniques that he was using at A&M, could become this nice little confluence of both those years at Purdue. Then A&M might just be a nice, perfect mixture for him to become a better pro than he was a college player. And he was a really solid college player specifically in 2023. James Pierce, I'm not worried about the off-the-field stuff. It sounds like just kind of an interesting personality, more so than like, oh, you got to worry about this guy. He's going to get himself into trouble. But great first step. Unreal bend, ability to drop into coverage. He's just a freak athlete. You want to take a shot on a guy like this, especially, like 28 back in the first round. Sign me up for that. Kenneth Grant runs hot and cold as a pass rusher, but love him as a run defender. Josh Simmons, fantastic tape, super explosive, especially out of his stance. And when climbing to the second level as a run defender, there's so much to like about Josh Simmons. He probably has the best looking tape of anybody from 2024 at the tackle position. It's just against lower level of competition. Then he got hurt before, the big games. And then the tape before that isn't nearly as wowing. So it's just how much risk appetite do you have? Back into the first round, I'd be willing to take a shot on Simmons. Michael Williams, it's just kind of, if we had gotten to see more of the stand-up rusher stuff, there's reason for me to believe. And we got to see Scorton do that at Purdue. We never really got to see the, Bulldogs let Michael Williams loose. I do think he's a good athlete, so there's reason to believe in that, but it's hard for me to bank on something I haven't seen yet. So back in the first round, it's more of my range for Michael. Gray Zabel, I think he's the best interior offensive lineman. Love him on the move, love the grip strength, love the ability to play with leverage, either guard or center spot. He'll be a rock-solid starter for you. Derek Harmon, I'm a little bit lower than some, especially like Dane having him on is my guy. So I feel bad. I feel like I got to hunt over here and hide. I see a good player. I just don't know if I see elite. I think he does a lot of things at a high level. I just don't know if he has any elite trait, to be honest with you. Did test well. He is quick. But I don't know. I'm more good prospect than I could say great. Darius Alexander, he comes moving ready. He's on the older side, but quick hands, quick feet. Dominated the Senior Bowl, moved up and down the defensive line. So I think you're just getting a Swiss Army knife of someone who can just step in and be productive for you right away. Then we get Shedeur. Great throwing motion. Probably him and Kyle McCord, best ball placement of anybody in this class. And not only from an accuracy standpoint, but catch and run opportunities for his receivers. And he had to carry that Colorado offense. No run game to speak of. Their screen game was basically their run game. So I do wonder the next level with a better offensive line and less on his shoulders. What does he look like? I think he can be somewhere in that QB 14 to 16 range. Like, I'm not doubting Shedeur Sanders. I think he'll be a rock-solid starter. I just do question the upside with not the best arm talent, not the best athleticism. But he gets it from the shoulders up, man. And his eyes, his vision, he sees the field really, really well. Not a whole lot of head-scratching turnovers. Really just that pick six from Tommy Hill where, he sees it and he just double clutches and makes the throw anyways. There's not a whole lot of that there for Shedeur Sanders. So I do think kind of a Geno Smith level of play is to be expected for Shedeur Sanders. I think he'll be a rock-solid player at the next level. Then we get TJ Sanders, a great guy at the Senior Bowl to talk to. Would love to get to talk to him after day 2 of practice, I believe. And he kicked ass there. Super quick, gap shooting guy. Love him as a pass rusher. There's reason for him to grow, especially as a run defender. 297 pounds, you're not getting someone who's Vita Vea. But I also think with his gap shooting, he can create those TFLs. And sometimes it just comes down to what defense you're talking about here. You would love to have the Kenneth Grant type, but sometimes you can balance it out over the course of a drive with just kind of one negative play on first down, right? Like get that TFL and next thing you know, it's 2nd and 12 and the offense is behind the sticks and now they're having to play catch up versus the guy who's just every single play stone one. It's a no yard gain. So there's probably a little bit more boom bust there with Sanders to run defender, but I also think he's an awesome upside as a pass rusher. Bull Rush McIntyre, shout out to the NFL Stock Exchange guys there for an all-time nickname for TJ Sanders. Trey Amos, love talking to him at the Senior Bowl. Another one of these guys where it's just, it's hard to disconnect once you get to know the guy. But long, lanky, love him in man coverage. I think this year he took big steps forward in zone coverage. And the big thing for me is he's always communicating. So I love guys who are always communicating. That's how you're going to get better in zone cover, or at least make up for where you may not be the best zone coverage defender. So he's taking steps in the right direction. So how could you not like that? Trevion Henderson, in a perfect world, 15 touches a game, and this guy's going to be super explosive on those chances. I like him specifically into space. I do think his vision between tackles got better. Matt Wallman brought that up. When they went to more gap scheme stuff and he's just following a guy, they simplified his vision in between the tackles, and he was able to hit the crease and go. And he's a super explosive athlete. Love him as a pass catcher. Very good pass protector as well. Mason Taylor, fluid, and another Senior Bowl guy, and there was not a ball put in the air in his catch radius that he did not come down with. This guy is going to dominate in the red zone. Fluid athlete, good route runner. So much to like about Mason Taylor, plus NFL bloodlines. Jaden Higgins, intermediate, a dagger savant, really. And also good testing at the combine. Shows he can stretch the field, big frame, wide catch radius. Rock solid top of the second round type. That Michael Pittman, that T. Higgins range, I'd be chomping at the bit. If I'm the Jags, I want to get a Mike Evans type in this offense. If I'm the Patriots, I didn't take a receiver there at 4, which they're probably not. If I'm the Patriots or even really the Raiders looking for an X receiver, 37, 38, those are great spots for those guys, as well as another receiver here. And the not too distant future we'll talk about. Benjamin Morrison, I moved him up. He's CB5 for me. And part of that, honestly, I was kind of surprised he wasn't CB4, but I went back and double-checked Amos right before I made that decision. And, dude, there's so much to like about Amos. But I moved Morrison back up to CB5. Like, his tape in coverage, he is as technically sound as anybody in this class, man or zone. But the problem is his hips are so, greased up, steal a scouting term there, so much so that he popped the cartilage in the hip. And now he's had 2, not only hip injuries, but hip surgery. So a lot of TBD there. I've been hearing some good reports that, teams have been getting back. So that is encouraging. And if the medical checks out and he's healthy, he's going to be a steal somewhere in the second round. And maybe he does sneak in the back end of the first round to a team like Washington or Buffalo. Maybe, those are 2 teams that want to play man coverage, but also will play a good amount of zone, especially Buffalo. Like, they want to run zone, but they want to be able to play man specifically against the Chiefs in a game like that, AFC, playoff picture, they want to be able to run some more man to man. So maybe they take a chance on someone like Ben Morrison. It's just if he stays healthy, he'll be a steal in the second round. If he gets hurt, though, it's like, what could have been? Then we get to Carson Schwessinger, as Dane Brugler put it the other day, a tractor beam to football, oily hips. The change of direction skills are insane. This guy will trigger downhill with the best of them. He's a blitzer. He's going to be a TFL machine when it comes to the run game. Again, even if 242 pounds is going to be the weight he plays at, he'll get washed out of plays. But his ability to fly downhill, evade blocks, the TFLs will make up for the plays where he gets washed out of it. Elijah Arroyo, love what I saw at the Senior Bowl. And as long as he's healthy, like this last year at Miami, you're getting a great seam runner, very fluid athlete, and a guy who's willing to be a blocker too. So middle of the second round, Jets, Chargers, I think that's a guy for them to target. Donovan Jackson's a guy I wish I could have higher, but 45 feels insulting. But again, this 20 to 64, 75 range of the draft is just awesome. Donovan Jackson's going to be a rock solid 8 to 10 year starter in the league. Maybe he doesn't have the upside that I think he does. Doesn't feel like most people see him as that way, but I think he could be a Pro Bowl level guy, an All Pro maybe. But guard tackle flexibility, I see him as a guard, but the ability to go play tackle in a pinch, that's huge. And again, this is another guy that for my mock draft, dude, I cannot wait to talk about Donovan Jackson in that landing spot. I think it's a very fun one. And then I have Tyler Booker right behind him. I just think Jackson more of a zone guy, Booker more of a gap guy, big behemoth of a human being, and he will blow people up at the line of scrimmage. Just getting on the move. That guy's he's a little limited there. Tyreek Williams, another guy who's kind of limited just because of the upside. Like, what is he really as a pass rusher? It's kind of, he's probably a pocket pusher. But if you get 2 of those a week, like, that might be enough on top of being one of maybe the best run defender in this class. Him and Kenneth Grant right there with me. And Walter Nolan, they just do it in kind of different ways. Nolan's more of a gap shooter. Those other 2 can hold the point of attack so much better. But Nolan underrated in that regard too, but he just does it with his quicks more often than not. I love Tyreek Williams, especially if you're a 4-man defensive line in the New Orleans Saints, you're the San Francisco 49ers, you're looking for a run stopper. Then in the middle of that, Tyreek Williams is your guy. I like Ayamanower. Love the field stretching, 4.44 speed, big frame. He's just got to clean up the drops, but also a route tree that I think is nuanced enough to be able to, like, he's a solid route runner. He could be this intermediate dagger, work the middle of the field, that type of guy. So, and I think a solid blocker. He's just got to clean up the drops. That's the big thing. But a redshirt sophomore, a lot of meat on the bone there to be tapped into for like Ayamanower. Braden Swinson, they would be fine as a run defender, but he's got long arms, a good first step, solid bend, and just a great ability to close on the quarterback. This guy is a play finisher. He is almost at the other end of the spectrum of Shamar Stewart. I think Stewart's a much better athlete, but when it comes to finishing plays, Swinson does it with the best of them. And that closing speed is just, it's hard to quit. So if you're looking for a stand-up outside linebacker, old school 3-4, or if you're just like comfortable with your guys in nickel standing up and rushing the passer, Swinson's your guy there in the second round.
Rookie. It's all about rookie talk in fantasy football right now. So why not go use all that knowledge to do something other than a mock draft? Chris Jimino won $8,000 with just 2 teams last year, and each draft took 5 minutes. That's pretty good ROI. You can start doing rookie drafts for money today on Fast Draft. The Origins tournament is live. It is the place to go and monetize your knowledge of rookies and use your favorite player profiler host promo code for a $25 deposit match. Now let's go start drafting faster.
Ken Winston Jr., I plan on my flag on it. I said this with Dane. He's safety too. I think his 2023 tape is better than any of the safeties' 2024 tape. I love this guy. Split safety looks, box safety, free safety, you name it. He's the best tackler in the class with athleticism to be able to play with the top 2. So, love me some Kevin Winston Jr. Chavon Ravel, an athletic marvel, like size, speed, and ball skills. Gotta love to see that. He just needs a lot of technical refinement. So he is definitely a work in progress. I almost spoiled where he's going to go in my mock draft. So I'll hold off there. But if you have a couple corners you're okay with starting, in the meantime, giving him a year to kind of fine-tune that, or maybe even the first half of his rookie year to fine-tune some things, work with his position coach, you could have something that really, really hits on the high side of variance. Could be a late first-round guy, but I think it's second round. Like he's someone I want to get my hands on. Pause. Very soon. Double pause. I don't know why I said very soon. Ariante Ursary, I think he plays a little high. The hip fluidity is a little iffy, but very good on the move, very good tester. And he plays to his level of competition. In big games, he got some big moments. Against some lesser competition, he makes you scratch your head and wonder, like, why are we talking about this guy as a top 64 pick? But I think that'll balance out the next level. He does need some coaching, too. That's the other thing, too. Like, I just don't know how much Minnesota is going to be the program to get him to his top level. The next level with the right coach, he could become a really, really fun player. But love him in his zone blocking scheme. And second, third round, I think he's a good value at that spot, which you're going to hear me say a lot. Again, in this 25 to 75 range, it's friggin' awesome. Alfred Collins, I question how much you're going to get out of him as a pass rusher, but as a run defender, move him up and down the defensive line. You name it. Like 1 all the way over to 5-7 tech. Like this guy can get it done as a run defender. So love the versatility you get with Collins. Nicky Manwari, you'll see here, like I said, I see more of a second-round guy, especially in coverage. I think he closes the ball well, but like true coverage, I don't know. So I think his instincts, his athleticism show, but I think there's some refinement there. And ultimately, it's just going to come down to the right defensive coordinator. If Nicky Manwari just plays single high free safety, or you play split safety looks and he's just one of those two, I don't think you're getting the most out of Manwari. If you're playing him in a slot, again, if I did slot rankings, Manwari would be my slot too. I would literally play him where the Ravens had Kyle Hamilton, not this past season, but the year before that, and just let his athleticism be that close to the equator of the play, right? Like I want him involved in as many plays as humanly possible. I want to use him as a blitzer. I want him to be there as my Sam linebacker against the run, So I think playing him in the slot's the best way to get the use out of Manwari. That's why, like Seattle at 18, I don't love, 18 to 54. That's technically a board on my reach, but giving him to Mike McDonald who used Kyle Hamilton in that slot role, sign me up for that. Maxwell Hairston, nothing against the guy. And I got to talk to him at the Senior Bowl. Great player. I wish I could have him higher. He is coming off that injury. I think the ball skills are fantastic. Awesome athlete as well. Click and close ability for days. You could definitely argue that he should be higher. Especially over Manwari in retrospect here, I probably flip those two. You know what? Shoot. What's it going to hurt me? We'll do some live editing here on the fly. But nevertheless, Hairston, really good football player, really good athlete. I just think, I'd just be a little bit more excited about some of these other guys ahead of them. That's all. And I have seen some of the off the field stuff, specifically at Kentucky, sexual assault, sexual harassment. So it's hard to weigh that into the equation when charges aren't filed, but it is something that is kind of looming in the back of my mind. So could be an interesting guy and going to be a guy that you need to have a culture for. Let's get to Demetrius Knight now. Really good football player, man. Hard not to like Demetrius Knight. Sideline to sideline speed. Willing to come downhill and lay the wood, so to speak. Solid run defender, but I think definitely you're getting more of his athleticism and more of his skill set in coverage and utilizing the sideline to sideline ability. Jalen Knoll, just a fun player, man. Ball tracking akin to Tyler Lockett. Downfield speed, can beat man and zone, can be used underneath as a yak player. I think he'll be a better yards after the catch, kind of make you miss in space guy at the next level. Just going to be a rock solid player at the next level. So again, just one of these middle round guys that's just going to be awesome and live in the league for forever. Again, Tyler Lockett to me is kind of someone I see a whole lot of with Jalen Knoll. And get this guy on option routes, and he's gonna have slot defenders in a dizzy. Prince at Uman Mielen, I do question what there's going to be there as a run defender. At the Senior Bowl, he kind of bulked up. Didn't really see the first step in the bend as much. Then he gets back down to his more normal playing weight, tests a little bit better. So honestly, I would just tell him, hey, you know what? You're not going to be a great run defender. Be my third down, DPR specialist. Let's get that first step. Let's get that bend to the equation because you're going to be a pass rush winner. You see that at Florida. You see it at Ole Miss as well. Let him be a DPR specialist. And here at back end of the second, early third, I think that's a comfortable spot to take someone like that. Then you got Tyler Shuck, my guy, quarterback 3. Love the arm talent. Love the willingness to throw from different arm angles. He does get a little panicky against pressure sometimes, but I don't think it's as often as people are kind of making it out to be. I did see the one rep from Brett Coleman. He tweeted it out at the Senior Bowl, at the Combine. I don't know what that was, but Kyle McCord looked pretty rough in the actual throwing drills versus whatever they were doing on that one rep. So, how much we want to really weigh the combine in the equation. If that one rep was rough, let's talk about every single throw from every single one of these guys because they weren't all perfect. But anyways, I understand, in the face of pressure, he's probably a little, panicky because of his injury history. And the injury history is there totally, but every single one of these players is one play away from having their career end, right? Like Bo Jackson, no injury history, one play, done. And year 3 of his career? So it's there, and it's present for any and all player who gets drafted. So yes, Shuck has a little bit more of a history of it, but I don't think any of those injuries lead you to believe that it's going to happen again. It's not like Ben Morrison where it's happened twice, same injury. It ties in his position a ton. It wouldn't shock me if it happened again. Shuck's just kind of had a myriad and a grocery list worth of like, oh, well, that sucks. Oh, that happened. Oh, okay, well, someone fell on his leg and, he tore his ACL, like all these little things where it's just kind of one-off instances. So outside of the first round, he's the guy I'm taking a shot on. He'd be the guy I'm willing to put my neck on the line for. And also coming from a system at Louisville, I think is very translatable to the next level too. So I did want to shout that out as well. Omar Norman-Lott, not going to be a high-level run defender, but has absolute juice for days as a pass rusher. Great first step, wider range of moves, slippery, just hard to get your hands on. Very quick player. So if you're looking for a pass rush specialist from the inside, Omar Norman-Lott, among the best options out there in this class. Dylan Sampson, 1-year starter, but home run speed, great one-cut ability. I think pretty solid vision. I think there's reason for him to grow as a pass catcher as well. Wyatt Milam, tackle converted inside to guard because of the arm length. But, we saw some growing pains at the Senior Bowl, but I think by day 3, he started to really kind of figure it out. Experiencing zone and gap, plays with good leverage for the most part, very good out on the move. So play this guy in like a zone blocking scheme at left guard. I think you're getting a very good player back end of round 2 into round 3. Darian Porter, this is my type of corner, man. Like it's long, lanky, athletic. That's going to be a type that's tough for me to quit, and it always is. That being said, I think there's reason for him to be better in man coverage. Next level just probably takes some more coaching, more experience. For the fact of the matter, he's got like 700 career snaps at corner as a starter. But he's fantastic in zone. And you can see his instincts as a former receiver. He can kind of sniff it out before, like a perfect example, that I talk about this all the time. His interception against Iowa, against the play action tight end league. Like that's just, I'm a football player. I have instincts. I've been on the offensive side. I know what's coming. And you see how that translates to the defensive side of the ball. I do think he needs to get better as a tackler as well. That's definitely an area in which he has a lot of room to grow, but size, speed, instincts, sign me up for that somewhere in the second round. Jalen Royals, very good tester. I think explosive after the catch. I think he's a good route runner. And it's not necessarily like he's snapping ankles and, putting guys on a highlight reel, but it's just more so he gets enough separation and then body presence, boxing out guys, so to speak. He's just always put himself in the spot to be open and create a favorable throwing window for his quarterback. So very advantageous guy. Can't wait to talk about him in my mock because I love the landing spot for where I have him going. Azaria Thomas, the 4.58 40 is definitely problematic. And, Cam Scatterbo didn't run a great 40 either. But just watching the tape here, long, lanky, physical corner, go get you at the line of scrimmage. You probably just don't want to leave him in single high man coverage because then at least not having the safety shaded over to his side. Because you might get into some like kind of iffy territory there. But also I look at how physical and technical his man coverage skill sets are. And I do wonder, like, why can't he be like a press, cover 3 corner? Like, I don't think there's any reason to doubt his ability to grow as a zone coverage defender. I'd be a lot more willing to take that chance in the 3rd round than I am the 2nd, given the 4.58. Cam Scatterbo, not going to be a home run threat, but dude, contact balance 4 days, good pass catching ability. Just going to be a rock solid pro. He's going to keep the offense on schedule. Just another one of these running backs that's just may not wow you, may not hit 60, 70, 80 yard home runs, may not hit the home or, the long touchdowns, may not hit those home runs, but he'll keep the offense on schedule. And honestly, I think at the next level, the fumble rate will go down. It's just because of like Arizona State. He's like the offense and he's having to do any and everything he can. And sometimes he fights a little too long on plays and the ball will get stripped out because of that. But at the next level, with a more, modest responsibility, on his plate, I think that'll come to an end. Jack Bech, Mr. Reliability, love the hands, good enough route runner, solid after the catch, just does a lot of things at a high level. And again, just very dependable, specifically with his hands and ability to go win it in the air. Josiah Stewart, I know he ran in the 4.8, but good Lord, if you've watched his tape, that number makes no sense. That makes zero sense because this guy is a speed rusher through and through, great first step, good bend, good arsenal of moves too, and a willing run defender too. He's willing to set that edge too. So he's not like this unique Ngakoue type. So I'd be willing to take a shot on him. Maybe he's a DPR to start, but I think long term, his willingness to play the run will get him into a full-time starting role at the NFL level. Landon Jackson, very different story. I think he's a work in progress as a pass rusher, but great arm length, great tester, and he already knows how to stop the run at the high level. He showcased that at the Senior Bowl too. So he's an easier guy to get on the field on early downs right now, and then you're kind of work in progress. Josiah Stewart's maybe a little bit of the opposite. Cameron Williams is first-round talent. He's just got a long way to go. One-year starter, a lot of penalties last year, false starts and holding, and he's just got to get better anticipation. And so, sit this guy for a year or two, and then let's see. So if you're the Philadelphia Eagles, the Arizona Cardinals, one of these teams that has the New England Patriots, you already have a guy starting for you right now, but you're looking for a guy for year 2, year 3 to be your starter, I'd be willing to take a shot on Cameron Williams. Honestly, as high as like mid to late second round, because I think there's a high upside there with Cameron Williams. Terrence Ferguson's just like a B+ across the board, man. Gets open against zone, solid athlete, gets open enough against man, body positioning's there, sure hands, enough after the catchability, solid blocker. He just does everything at a pretty okay rate, and all that together makes for a guy that in the third round, like drafted, plug and play starter there at tight end. Gunnar Helm, the 40 at the combine wasn't great. The athletic testing wasn't great. He was definitely injured. Great yards after the catch weapon. Utilize this guy in the middle of the field and reap the benefits. Work in progress as a blocker, but a good athlete. And I think there's reason to believe that he could be a better blocker at the next level. Jordan Birch, explosive when he's in a 2-point stance, ton of speed to power potential, bigger frame, heavier edge rusher. He can play the run well as or on top of that. Sebastian Castro, not going to wow you with the athleticism, but a very technically sound player. And at the Senior Bowl, I thought he held up pretty well, specifically in coverage when coming out of the slot, and solid run defender too. So just one of these slot players that's just like, yeah, I think he could be around the league for a long time. Kind of another Mike Hilton type. Mike Hilton was the world's greatest athlete, but just technically sound and just kind of plays aggressive and kind of goes balls to the wall. And I think Castro can bring a lot of that to the table as well. Especially you've utilized him as a tackler and utilized him as a blitzer too. Just let him play with his hair on fire. Brashard Smith, I love the pass catching upside for my guy Brashard Smith. I also think get this guy into space, and he is a big play waiting to happen. The vision needs to get a little bit better, specifically between the tackles. But if you get this guy into a wide zone scheme and his read is when do I cut upfield, you're getting an explosive athlete who has immense pass catching ability. So if you're the Commanders and you're looking for a little bit more juice in your backfield and you're looking for that pass catch upside, this is your dude in that day 3 range. RJ Harvey, not going to do anything really for a third down, pass protection side of it. I think he could be a better pass catcher at the next level, but if it's off frame, it's not anything that's really going to wow you. But home run ability and holy cow, make you miss in a short area type of juice. Like really fun player. Get into a phone booth with this guy and be prepared to lose. So really fun watch there. And I'd be willing to take him in the third round. I think you get Devin Neal, so you get this cluster of running backs that I all like. Neal definitely the least athletic of that bunch, but fantastic vision, very shifty, model of consistency, to steal the phrase from Dane Brugler, and also good around the end zone too. So short yardage situations, red zone. This guy's going to be a productive player, and he'll finish drives for you. Isaiah Bond, I'm just not going to quit the upside there. This year was definitely disappointing. He definitely battled injuries, but early on, you can see it. The first 3-4 games of the year, long speed for days, but also great start-stop ability. And, that type of shiftiness leads me to believe he's going to be a solid route runner, and especially like utilizing him in motion and then having him flank back out the other way. Like there's a lot to be tapped into with his athletic profile. Jared Ivey did not test well, but I'm not necessarily too worried about it. He's kind of got that, not Brandon Graham, but not Derek Barnett either. Michael Bennett. There we go. He's kind of got this Michael Bennett thing going for him where he's not a great tester, but plays with an abundance of power, long arms to go with. And I think he'll be a better pro at the next level. And he was a little hot and cold for Ole Miss. He definitely had some games where he showed up, and then some games where it's like, where's Jared Ivey? But I think at the next level, I think he'll become a more consistent player. And I just love that, he's just a different edge rusher. There's a lot of smaller guys that you're kind of wondering, hey, can they not play all 3 downs? Ivey's a 3-down player, and he's a power rusher in this class that There's some, but there's not nearly as many as there are like speed, finesse type, lighter weight dudes. Then we get Jackson Dart, QB4. I'd be willing to take him if you have a succession plan. So if you're the Rams and you got Stafford for at least another year, if you're the Steelers and you're getting Aaron Rodgers, I still think that's going to happen, by the way. Today, Thursday, he came on McAfee and was like, oh, I don't know, maybe I'll retire. I think he'll be a Steeler. But if you have that succession plan, you already have a guy that's in the room and you're willing to take a shot on him, second, third round, I can understand. Or if you're the Jets, right, and you're going to start Fields for a year, could you develop Dart? I think it's just going to take time for his translation from Lane Kiffin's offense to the NFL level to fully pan out. Kyle Williams, big-time riser. I did bump him up in my receiver rankings, kind of rethought some things, kind of look back at my numbers, and this is not my, like, home draft, rankings, like where I put my qualitative stuff, where I put my quantitative stuff, and my final notes and the scouting eval stuff that was going to go up on the website if we had it done before the NFL draft was done, but always something to look forward to for next year with 32 beat writers. But Kyle Williams moved him up a little bit. One of the best separations in this class. Great, explosive, electric athlete, really. He can make the big play happen. So a little bit different than some of the other guys in this class. Jacob Parrish, a small but feisty corner. And you got to be careful saying small. He's short. He's 5'9" and 3/4, but 191 at 5'9" is pretty well built. So this guy is pretty solidly built. So because of that, you see it in his scrappiness and his willingness as a run defender. And he'll get up in the line of scrimmage and he'll press a guy too. So very interesting prospect. I think he's probably best suited to play in the slot at the next level, especially considering 191. Like that's a good frame. He can play through some of the contact that comes with playing in that spot on the field. But I could also see where he has some success playing some outside zone coverage, So a lot of flexibility that comes with Jacob Parrish, just a really good football player. Don't overthink it, even though he's 5'9". Aeneas Peebles, a little bit lighter, 282. So you're not drafting him to be a high-level run defender. He gets it done at the college level by shooting gaps. That's a little bit TBD compared to other guys that we talked about. I'm a little less sure Peebles can be able to do that at the next level, but he is lightning quick, and he did it at the Senior Bowl. That's for damn sure. But then also as a pass rusher, man, quick hands, quick feet, wide range of moves. This guy, if you didn't get Omar Norman Lott and it's the next round of the draft, you're looking for that interior disruptor, looking at you, Cincinnati, this is a guy I would be chomping at the bit to get. Jack Sawyer, short arms, but man, he plays the run a whole lot better than you would think, given that. And also just started swatting passes in the college football playoff. Like he had never had a career deflected pass, and then I think he had 8 in their college football playoff run, which is just like, where does that come from? And I don't think at the next level he'll be anything crazy as a pass rusher, but good power and a high motor, right? Like lunch pail guy, and he won't quit until the play's done. And I do think at the next level he'll be a solid run defender. So, it's kind of lazy, but there is a lot of Sam Hubbard there with Jack Sawyer. And then I got JT Tuimoloau right behind him. He's got longer arms, and I could definitely see where more people see some upside in him. I just don't know if the athletic profile really gives the idea of this guy is going to become a 10-plus sack a year guy. So another one of these guys who's rock solid, early down defender, going to play the run at a high level. And every once in a while, he'll, long arm his way into a win and get a sack out of it, or he'll bull rush his way into a win and get a sack out of it, or something like that. But probably more of a 6 sack a year guy than I would say 12 sacks a year type of dude. And then we get Femi Oladipo, who is this work in progress. Actually has shorter arms than it looks like he has, which is interesting, but plays with immense power, great know-how when it comes to stopping the run. And you can see his background as an off-ball linebacker coming into play there. But there's just so many reps where, like, you'll go 2 quarters and you're like, yo, is this guy going to win a pass rush rep? But then he'll win one, and he'll kind of stack a next couple of plays off of that, and he'll have like 5 straight wins, and you're like, okay, there it is. So it is definitely flashes right now as a pass rusher. But again, in the third round, if you got a couple guys you feel comfortable using as your main, frontline pass rushers, or if you're like, hey, I just need a guy to stop the run and we'll develop the rest, and you missed out on Landon Jackson, I'd be willing to take a shot on Femi Oladipo. Then we get Ashton Gelati, Elijah Roberts, 2 of these other, bigger defensive ends. Roberts is probably more closely someone like a Jared Ivey or Jordan Birch, but uber productive player, really good athlete for someone who's 285 pounds. And in the third round, yeah, like sign me up for that. Gelati's like a 3-4 D end, ugly body, like a weird body type and short arms, but dude is just uber productive. Way better 40 in 10-yard split than I would have thought by looking at the tape. So he's more athletic than I gave him credit for, but trust the tape. This guy's a productive player, 3-4 defensive end. So he's kind of narrowed into a specific scheme. But he could play some 4-3 D end, but let's be honest, nickel's the new base. So he's got some flexibility there. It just comes down to where you're lining up that D end versus where you're lining up the D tackle. Is it first down? Is it third down? A lot of variables in play there, but trust the tape. This guy was super productive. I'm willing to take a shot on him somewhere in the third round. Chris Paul, better known by Pooh Paul, love the sideline to sideline ability and his willingness to fly downhill. Like he is unafraid of getting blown up if it means he gets the chance to blow someone else up, So love his fearlessness and off-ball linebacker 4 for me. Yeah, I love me some Pupal. Be willing to take him in the 3rd round. Austin Trapilo, big, pretty athletic, not going to wow you there, but like athletic enough. The arm length's a little shorter, but again, I think he just does enough things well that in the 3rd round, you need so even if it's a succession plan, like if you're the Cardinals, you're the Patriots, you're whoever, and you're looking for a guy in year 2 to start, I think you can trust that. But also NFL bloodlines, never got to really know his dad, but his dad did play in the NFL, so there is some reason to buy into that too when it comes to traits, athleticism, just banking out at the next level. So do like Austin Trapilo. I'd just be comfortable with him in the 3rd round. If you need him to start right away too, I think that's an option. I could see him being one of these guys you could trust as a plug and play option. Marcus Bowe, I love him on the interior, guard or center. I have him ranked a little bit higher as a center, but guard, center, I'm cool with either one. Love him on the move. Really nuanced guy. His conversations with a lot of guys, I've seen a number of interviews, and he's just way more. Not that I didn't think he was intellectually sound. I'm kind of backing myself in a corner here, but like his interview with Brandon Thorne, you're just like, wow, this guy really gets it. Like this guy understands the nuance of this position. He's thought about all this. Not only does he like understand, but he's like thought about it, put it into practice, put it into theory. Like he's put the work into not only think about it, pontificate about it. He's like worked on it too. So yeah, I think in the 3rd round, man, like take a shot on this guy. I'd like him at center a lot, especially 303 pounds, the way he moves. I'd plug and play him at center. DJ Giddens, Mr. Change of Direction. Love the frame. Love the testing as well. He's one of these interesting guys that you see the 40, low 4.4s, but it does feel like sometimes he gets hawked from behind. So it feels like maybe that 20 yards is where you get a lot of his speed, and then maybe it kind of decelerates there. I don't know. 10-yard split's pretty good too. So like maybe that is kind of reason to buy into that theory. But I love me some DJ Giddens. Really hoping there's a world where him or Damian Martinez is my Steelers compliment to Jalen Warren. So big fan of DJ Giddens. Harold Fannich, just kind of an interesting guy. I don't know if you can fully play him on the line of scrimmage. Probably more of an H-back, but hey, Bowling Green's playing him out wide, playing him in the slot. If you get an offensive coordinator who's willing to move him all around, you're going to get a good football player. Didn't test out great, and I'll be honest, the Senior Bowl, he didn't look like an athlete that was going to pull away and be a difference maker at the next level. So maybe he's just a solid player, and he's not quite Delaney Walker. He's just kind of more of like the Jonnu Smith we've kind of come to know. But I think that's fine. Still, like a nice complimentary tight end for you. And I think in the 3rd round, like not a bad shout. Josh Farmer, freaky long arms, a lot of power, but he also bore the blunt of like being the like everyone week in, week out when they played Florida State was like, we have to stop Josh Farmer. We have to double team that guy. So like the tape and the production's not super sexy, but there's a good football player, and he was really good day 3 of the Senior Bowl too. So I love the power, good first step, love the arm length too. I'd be 3rd round, bull in a China shop type. If you're the Houston Texans, like sign me up for that. Xavier Watts, love the ball skills, not the most wow athlete or frame or anything like that, but you don't get 13 picks in 2 years just solely off, oh, shoot, I'm in the right place at the right time. There's a lot of instincts. There's a lot of football IQ, above the shoulders stuff that comes into play there with Xavier Watts. So absolutely willing to take a shot on him in the 3rd round as a single high center fielder. Jonas Savaiinaea, honestly, I wish I could have him higher. He's been someone I've been high on this whole entire process. Pretty sure he was my off to tackle 5 in the way too early rankings. And honestly, I think the foot speed, especially at the Senior Bowl combine, he showcased, hey, I could play a tackle. So he truly is guard tackle. I just think he'll be a mauler at guard. I would love to see his play strength there on the inside. He's got the anchoring and pass protection, but get this guy on the move, let him climb to the 2nd level, and let him light some fools up. Love to see him as a guard, but I do think at a pinch, or if you just prefer him at tackle, I'm totally content with that as well. Tate Ratledge, just a rock solid player. Honestly, like 97's pretty low. Like honestly, this is one that like, oh shoot, maybe I should move him up. But really good tape. Fantastic athletic testing. He's, both the Georgia guy, all 3 of the Georgia guys really have kind of gone under the radar. But yeah, Ratledge, I take him in the 2nd round. So honestly, yeah, I might be getting some tweaks here post. Now this is the final publication. I gotta live with it. But there's also a lot of really good football players ahead of them too. So it's a loaded range of the class. Jared Wilson, another guy that honestly you could have both these guys higher, but the best 40 time for any center in combine history. Really athletic and stepped up and stepped into huge shoes left by Cedric Van Pran Granger. And I was really kind of worried about like, is this Wilson guy going to be able to do that? And I think he did that and then some. And maybe by the end of the year, he was an even better player too, So especially in a zone blocking scheme, I'd be chomping at the bit to get Jared Wilson. Again, now I'm kind of irritated. I should probably move these 2 guys up. Anyways, moving on, Damian Martinez and then Xavier Restrepo, 2 Hurricanes right out the top 100 here. Martinez, man, just quick feet, especially the last 4 games at Miami. I think he really turned a corner, found the right playing weight at the Senior Bowl. We asked him about that. He was kind of changing and working to find that right weight. And then like towards the end of the year, he got to 224 and he was like, there it is. And I know 217 is the combine weight, but 224 is what he was at the Senior Bowl. And he also took huge strides in the right direction as a pass protector. It's still not great, but much better than where it was at Oregon State. So I appreciate his attention to detail and his willingness to grow there, because that is going to be a huge part of why you might draft him too, especially with 5'11" and 5'8", 270. Like, you want that guy to be a pass protector for you on third downs, and he's fine as a pass catcher. But like, if he can get better as a pass protector, way easier to get this guy on the field for all 3 downs. Xavier Restrepo, I think that 40 was, I think he truly did get hurt. And also, again, I saw him at the Senior Bowl, and he was getting open left, right, and center. 1-on-1s, 7-on-7s, and 11-on-11s. So even if it is 4-8, this guy is not, like, I don't think anybody in their evaluation should have been seeing him as this field stretcher. He is a, zone beater, underneath weapon, a little bit of yards after the catch juice. I like Xavier Restrepo. I'm not ready to quit him, especially at 209 pounds. He's got a little bit of a low center of gravity, kind of bowling ball type of build to him. Then we got Trey Harris, Torrey Horton stacked up right behind him. So they have probably a higher upside. These guys are X receivers versus, the slot and Restrepo. I think Harris plays faster than his 40, a little bit of wiggle when he gets to showcase it off, but the route tree was definitely limited at Ole Miss, so you're just going to have to take some time to work with him to expand that. Torrey Horton's coming off an injury, but the 2023 tape honestly probably gets him drafted in the second round, to be honest. Maybe at worst, third round. Explosive athlete, good wiggle as well, and I think a wider route tree, honestly, than Trey Harris. It's just, where's he at with the medical? Kyle McCord, love him in a vertical-based offense. If the Giants don't get anybody in the second or third round, like, I would be taking my shot on Kyle McCord. I think he's a great fit for Brian Dable's offense. Could also be someone like the Steelers. They had him in for a final top 30 visit, so that's certainly live there in the third round. Yeah, the interceptions are there, but he became this, gunslinger, and he became willing to take shots, and he had some big-time throws, man. And ball placement, like I said earlier with Shedeur Sanders, it's him and McCord when it comes to setting up his receivers for yards after the catch opportunities. Those are the best two in the class at doing that. Quincy Riley, smaller, scrappy, maybe, not the best when it comes to playing on the outside. Some of his tape this year, like, it's a little rough, but he also, he was playing banged up. So really, I'd play this guy in the slot and take advantage of his feistiness and his willingness to go scrap. So I'd play him in the slot. Really like Quincy Riley. Had a good Senior Bowl too. So that to me was a nice boost to confidence. Hey, this guy's getting back to 100% in regards to his health. Tez Johnson, I just don't know what to do with 154 pounds, but this guy at the top of his routes will snap your ankles, no doubt about it. So I think get this guy into a play action heavy offense. Let him be receiver 3 for Arizona, Minnesota. Just a couple examples there, and let him cook down the field. Shamar Turner, really like the athlete. This year wasn't great, but he was also playing banged up. I think he's just kind of almost like, if you didn't get Darius Alexander, I take a shot on Shamar Turner, move him up and down the defensive line. The DN tape at 2023 at A&M, pretty solid, gives you a lot to be excited about. Moving him inside didn't quite work, and again, he was playing banged up. So if you're looking for a guy who can play all 4 spots, give you some juice, be a good athlete, give you some pass rush upside, Shamar Turner is a good guy to take a shot on somewhere in the 3rd to 4th round. Charles Grant, love the upside here with this guy. I mean, especially with the arm length over 34 inches. I'm totally on board. I initially was kind of looking at him as a center to guard. I'd be comfortable playing him at tackle and developing him there. Or you could play him as a starting guard and then work him in as like a backup tackle and give him some reps there throughout the course of the week too. So yeah, really a guy that I have him in all 3 of my offensive line position rankings in that video. So if you missed that, check it out. So I think the door is ajar for Charles Grant, and whatever team takes him, I think there's a lot of pathways to get Charles Grant on the field sooner rather than later. Jordan James, just love the build, love the contact balance. Not going to wow you with the long speed, just going to keep the offense on schedule. In a lot of ways, if you miss out on Cam Scattaboo, I could see a world where you're like, all right, Jordan James is our next guy. David Walker, weird build, short. The arms really aren't that long, but an absolute leverage king, and he might have the best bull rush of anybody in this class. So speed to power specialist, bull rush specialist, and at 263 pounds, even with the short arms, I think he could be a solid run defender at the next level. Just coming from a small school, so just kind of hard to gauge the level of competition. Kyle Kennard wins with long arms, power, and a really good motor. Not my favorite player, but I do think there's a flavor to get excited about with Kyle Kennard. So a complimentary edge rusher there. Noah Williams, this guy wants to get in your face and play physical man press. I really dig that. Also gets his hands on the football, good ball skills. So if you're the Chiefs end of the 3rd round and you're looking for a guy who can play on the outside and just be a Spagnuolo type, I think Noah Williams is definitely that. Jordan Phillips, a little sawed off, but really good run defender. And actually, I'm realizing now, yeah. Oh, shoot. That is not right. This is supposed to be CJ West. So apologies. You're going to get to see the edit made on the fly here. 112. Yeah, that's frustrating. I swear I made that change. I had flipped these two. I had already flipped these two. It must have been on my other ranking sheet. So apologies. You're getting to see some editing here on the fly. There we go. But CJ West and Jordan Phillips, for that matter, both a little sawed off, but I just like West and the upside there a little bit more as a pass rusher. I think there's a little bit more in the athletic profile to buy into. Will Howard, I think just be a rock solid backup quarterback at the next level. I think you could draft and feel confident with him backing up, and if you had to, be a spot starter for you pretty much right away. Don't know how much upside they're really there, but also a solid athlete. So yeah, I'm like Raiders in the 4th round. I know it's a little lazy because of Chip Kelly, but like looking for a solid backup quarterback, here's Will Howard. Andrew Bakuba, yeah, much improved this year, both playing over the top, but also flying downhill, playing in the box. Could also be an interesting slot guy, but just so much more decisive this year. Love how he's flying around the field in confidence. Ja'Cory Croskett-Merritt, man, I wish we could have seen more of him in 2024, but great stop-start ability and really good tester. Looked really good at the Shrine Bowl as well. Solid pass-catching option as well, so a lot to like there in the 4th round for Ja'Cory Croskett-Merritt. Savion Williams, natural ball skills and very good yards after the catch ability. Just a lot of nuance that needs to be added to his game, specifically as a route runner. Anthony Belton, really good Senior Bowl week, and I mean really good. And he looked like a guy who would shave going from 370 to 345. The feet just look so much better. So I think guard tackle flexibility, ideally get this guy in a gap scheme and just let him blow dudes up across from him, especially on the interior. I think that could be a lot of fun. But it could be that kind of swing offensive lineman for you if you need him to be available on, either left side position, left tackle or left guard. Jamari Caldwell just going to be a rock solid run defender at the next level. And I would love to see a world where, and I'm not trying to spoil my mock too much here, which I just did, but I'm trying to get a world where like him and Derek Harmon play together. We just saw the Fist chemistry pay off with the Rams. Like, could we get Caldwell and Harmon playing together? That would be a whole lot of fun. Simeon Jones, just a rock solid, heavy set, edge. Not going to wow you with like juice or athleticism or anything like that, but just going to play and set the edge at a high level and can win with power and his long arms. Jeffrey Bossa, really like his athleticism. Good instincts covering the middle of the field too, and I think a solid run defender. So just a solid 4th round linebacker if you're looking to add a guy to that room. Dorian Strong, probably want to play him in off coverage. The man press stuff can be a little iffy sometimes. And also like the long speed can be a little questionable, but off zone coverage, this guy's got some good instincts and some good ball skills. Jalen Milroe, freak athlete who can throw a beautiful deep ball. Just a whole lot there in between that needs to get refined. Quinn Ewers, I love bunching these guys up together. The good moments are like 1st round caliber, and then there's everything else that he has on tape. Just think he throws too much with his feet, or too much with his arm, not enough with his feet. So I think year or two where you can refine some of that. He's got arm, he's got touch, he's got very good accuracy. He just needs to be more consistent, and specifically more consistent with his feet. And then you might have a starter on your hands here in Quinn Ewers. Billy Bowman Jr., love him in the slot, dude. Unafraid of anybody. Nobody told him he's under 5'10 and 192 pounds, but love him in coverage. I think he's got great hips. Very good athlete as well, and he's willing to put his nose right in the middle of it as a run defender. Barrett Carter, love him playing downhill, little inconsistent in coverage, working sideline to sideline, but 2 years ago, I can't get that out of my head too. So if you're looking for a guy who can play downhill as a linebacker, I think Barrett Carter is worth a shot somewhere in the 4th, 5th round. Emory Jones, I like him better at guard, but I do have to say the Senior Bowl, the tackle play wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it might be. The feet looked better than I was kind of anticipating. I would play him at guard, take advantage of, he's kind of poor man's Jonas Savaiinaea for me. Great base, love the anchor ability, and he's a good athlete too. So at guard, let him climb up the 2nd level, line up a safety and let him knock him out. Like, sign me up for that. Then we get Danny Stutzman. Very much a work in progress in coverage. He just takes too many risks, and he flies downhill. Like, this guy wants to he's like Tasmanian devil type of linebacker. Crash downhill as a blitzer, and he gets the run. And sometimes that just gets him into trouble, and, he'll fly downhill, and actually, the guy he was responsible in coverage is wide open behind him, So just going to take some refinement, going to take some dialing back there. And, I think he's a good athlete, so there is reason to believe he can become a more consistent zone player at the next level. Pat Bryant showcased way more wiggle at the Senior Bowl than I would have anticipated, or kind of was thinking I was going to get after watching him on tape. There's some like yards after the catch, like you can see a little bit of pull away speed, but yeah, definitely not a long speed type, but like physical X receiver, get him at the line of scrimmage, take advantage of the little shimmy there at the release. There's something to be had there. Very good hands as well. And yeah, just an X receiver that you're looking for a guy like that on day 3. The Washington Commanders looking for a Noah Brown replacement. I think that could be an option for you. Ollie Gordon, not going to do a whole lot to make you miss in a short area, but when he gets to the top speed, man, he can roll. And he's a physical downhill north-south runner. And I think 4th, 5th round, I'm willing to take a shot on that, especially if you go to offensive line. Get this guy ahead of steam and see what happens. Logan Brown, very good athlete, very good intangibles, great frame, and pretty good tape too. And is a right tackle, so more than comfortable drafting and developing. It's not perfect, but there's some good tape there too. So if you missed out on Cameron Williams and you're looking for an athletic developmental right tackle, Logan Brown's your guy. JJ McGeese, an absolute athletic marvel. The geese is loose and also like an offensive playmaker. So I do love that. But he is a very good run defender. And I think with his athletic profile, reason to believe into him becoming a better pass rusher at the next level. Then we get Jordan Phillips. This is, where he was supposed to be. Sawed off a good bit. I just don't know if there's quite the upside as a pass rusher as CJ West. But God, I love the power he has in his lower half, man. He is really something to marvel at. Looked really good at the Shrine Bowl and what I got to saw there. Or what I got to see there. So yeah, do like him as a 4th, 5th round kind of run stopping specialist there in the middle of your defense. Amon Hassanin, just a rock solid player. Didn't test as good as I was thinking he would, and I didn't think he would tear up the world there, but big physical edge, kind of almost your poor man's Ashton Gelati too, just does a lot of things right. Pretty productive pass rusher. I'd be willing to take a shot on him in the 5th round, 4th, 5th round. Josh Joyner, very different, but kind of speed bend guy, looked pretty good at the Senior Bowl. Again, be willing to take a shot on him, 4th, 5th round. Ty Felton could definitely be higher. I do kind of worry about 183 pounds, what that looks like against press and at the catch point. But if you're playing with a Z or in the slot, you're getting a silky smooth route runner with very good hands too. So, and good long speed too to challenge over the top. So there's a lot to like there with Ty Felton. It's just finding that right role for him. Ty Robinson, love the athletic profile that comes with, 288 pounds. And he's a very good run defender, but I just do question about the pass rush upside because there's just not a whole lot of that on tape. Some moments though at the Senior Bowl. Zod Frazier, big, long, athletic corner. Again, this is a tough player for me to type a quit. Not quite the ball skills of a Porter or Tariq Woolen, another UTSA alum, but a guy that 5th round, back into the 4th, I'd be willing to take a shot on. Get him in my building. Let's see where we can take this. Kobe Bryant, very different, much more slim, but absolute scrappy dude. There's not a rep on the field where he's not talking smack to someone. And I think especially in cover 4, off zone coverage, that kind of mitigates my concern about 180 pounds, what that looks like. But yeah, let this guy be a playmaker, read the receiver in front of him, good closing speed. And again, just get a dog in your room. If you don't have that type of tone setting corner, I think Kobe Bryant's worth having in that room, which is funny to say, but a lot of, honestly, mentality and attitude is a big part of that position too. I mean, you're going to get beat, but can you come back from it? Do you have confidence in yourself? It's a big part of the position. Rodney Gadsden, don't really know what to do with him because I don't think he's going to actually play at 243 pounds. I think he's 232 at the Shrine Bowl. That feels more realistic. He was 220 something at Syracuse. So that's unrealistic at the next level, but he's basically a slot receiver and he runs really good routes and he's got very good hands and he's solid after the catch. So I don't really know what to do with him. Like the pass catching upside, probably just going to have to be an H-back though. Chase Lunt, love his ability to climb at the 2nd level. Pretty good pass protection tape as well. Coming from a smaller school, so loves competition is a little iffy for sure. But if you're looking to draft and develop a right tackle in the future for a zone blocking scheme, I give you Chase Lunt. Then we get Miles Frazier. And, it's actually, it's funny. I have Chase Brown up here, or Logan Brown, sorry, up ahead of Lunt. So it's interesting. I almost wonder when I put these final touches together and when I did my offensive tackle rankings, I had them side by side in my offensive tackle rankings, but I had Lunt at 10 and Brown at 11. But you really could flip either one. I'm being inconsistent, not being indecisive. Miles Frazier, love him as a pass protector. Honestly, late 3rd round, I wouldn't be shocked if a team like the Chiefs looking to fill that left guard void could take a shot on him. Looked really good in pass protection at the Senior Bowl. Up and stout, small, but unfit. Another one of these guys that no one told him he's 5'8.5", 181 pounds. Willing to stick his nose into it as a run defender, unfazed by anybody he was lined up against at the Senior Bowl. No matter what school they were coming from, what type of caliber of athlete, he was with them stride for stride. Love to see that. So 4th, 5th round, getting yourself a rock solid starter in the slot. Dylan Gabriel, I think he's got a better arm than people are making, or some people want to default to, but I still don't think it's that great. Personally, I still don't see anything, especially when it comes to fitting into tight windows. I'm still a little iffy on that. Smaller frame or smaller guy too, but he has a lot of the intangibles, a lot of playing experience, and I do think for the right scheme, he could be a solid, backup to maybe eventually a starter. Just depends on how you feel about that arm strength and what type of throws you're asking him to make. Vernon Broughton, better of the two guys when it comes out of his stance, and probably a guy that honestly, the more I've watched, probably move him up. But again, I'm trying to finalize this stuff and get it all published and whatnot. But Vernon Broughton, I think he's the better pass rusher of the two. Do leave some room to be desired as a run defender, but I think he's solid enough there to where, honestly, 3rd round, I'd take a shot on him. That's where he's been going to my mock. So I'm being a little inconsistent here. He should probably move up my board from 144. That's really the difficulties for these big boards. You put them together and you might feel one way one day, you might feel a different way the next day. And it's just a never ending evaluation, really. Trevor Etienne, love the big playability, super explosive athlete, just got to get better when it comes to reading out blocks. Kobe Hudson, a very solid. Now you're actually getting beyond my top 150 here. Here's a couple more names, I guess. Value for you. But Kobe Hudson, silky smooth route runner, and I think with more consistent quarterback play, he'll be an even better pro. RJ Oben, love the speed, bend, willing run defender. Clay Webb, versatile interior offensive lineman, former Georgia commit, was there for 2 years, then transferred to Jacksonville State, has had really good tape. 2023 was probably better than 24, but a very good athlete who got better and better over the course of the Senior Bowl. Baseball Tutton just needs to get better vision and not turn the football over. Everything else was there for him. Jaden Blue, fantastic pass catcher, awesome athlete. Another guy that's got to get better reading it out and not coughing the football up. Jack Kaiser just does a lot of things right. Special team savant, 6 years at Notre Dame, one of the best tacklers in this class. Lots to like about Kaiser. You maybe just wonder about the upside. And then Deion Walker, not going to fully quit on him just yet, but he just plays too upright to really make it work. And he's not a nose tackle. In fact, the matter, he plays more like a 3-tech. So just kind of a complicated guy of what to do with. But I did promise you guys my defensive position rankings, so we didn't get to do that. So real quick, let's go run through all this. More or less, you'll get to see the same order of names that I just read off in a top 150, but here it is in a more concise fashion. There's interior defensive line. Pause if you need to take a look and want to see. Again, if you're looking for some of the other stuff in here, it's very cool. Matt Owen did a great job with this and all the information that is in here. Awesome. That's interior defensive line. Here are my edge rankings. Carter Walker Stewart, Green as a Raku Scorton, so on and so on. So, and you also see where, like, and I do this based off the draft class. This is very much depends on the draft class. This is not like my 1 through 10, what number grade they're getting. This is much more of like, in this class, where would I feel comfortable taking these guys? Just so you have that as a frame of reference. Linebacker class falls off like no other, but Sean Dulac, like, that's a guy, I'd be really interested in day 3. Like, if you, especially special team value, like, it's immense there with Sean Dulac. Really fun player to watch, just kind of small and undersized. Then we get to corners, and you can see a lot of guys I like, a lot of scrappy guys in here. It's a pretty good class. Zy Alexander probably should have been in that top 150, honestly. So you'll see some of these, it's tough. I kind of go back and forth on some of these guys, change it one place, not change it the other. But a lot of good football players, and here are my safety rankings. And then, it falls off a cliff pretty soon thereafter. Guys, this has been a long podcast episode, man. I hope you guys enjoyed. Apologies for some of the reworks here on the fly, but that's the life of an NFL draft analyst. If you ever wonder what it's like, this is what it's like. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts. Who's, when comparing your board, who am I too high on? Who am I too low on in your eye? Let's have a conversation about it, whether it's in the comment section below or on Twitter or in my DMs. I'd love to have you hit me up and tell me where, hey, man, dude, why are you high man on this guy? I think he should be more here. Or you're way too low on this dude. He should be up in this top 50 or top 10 range or whatever. I'd love to have that conversation with you in my DMs. You can hit me up at TJ Wengert. My last name is spelled Wengert. Well, this has been a doozy. I hope you all enjoyed. Like if you did, subscribe if you're new to the YouTube channel. Lots of draft content coming. Like I said, next video out, it's going to be my final 4-round mock draft. My predictive, not what I would do, predictive 4-round mock draft. And then I will have grades as soon as round 1 is done. And I will have a day 2 mock draft. That is the 2nd and 3rd round. That will obviously be a continuation of what we already know happened in the 1st round. So excited to bring those videos your way. Definitely subscribe to the channel. Follow us here on X for that content. But that is going to do it for me. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day. And until next time, my name is Tej, and I am signing off.